I honestly thought that at the beginning of this challenge, I thought I would easily be able to get over 100,000 followers in 100 days. Turns out I was nowhere near that. Today we're going to talk about, earlier this year I did a challenge where I put out 100 reels in 100 days. And I did this challenge because at the time we were trying to pitch this to different clients, just the importance of putting out a reel every day. And it was a reasonably high ticket item. And because of that, obviously that means that it's pretty valuable. And I kept having these conversations with people, and a lot of people just didn't understand the importance of doing it. And, you know, I couldn't just sit with that anymore, with the pain of knowing how good it is, and for me not actually doing it. So that's why I decided to jump in. The challenge was to post a reel every single day on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube Shorts. And it would be as highly edited as possible, while still being able to communicate information that was, you know, informative about things that I was doing, about videography, about even photography, time lapsing, just things that I'd learned so far on my journey, and different bits of work and behind the scenes of shoots and other things that I was doing at that time as well. So it was an extremely tough challenge, especially if you've never done something like that before. And I was spending easily 3-4 hours a day shooting or planning, shooting, editing, and also posting on top of that as well. Like, all of that does take a lot of time, and it was very much at least a part-time job, if not, sometimes it really did feel like a full-time job, and that was all I was doing. But at the same time as all of that, I was doing client work and doing similar work for other people as well. So it was kind of it was a very challenging time. And I am surprised that I actually, well, not surprised necessarily, but because I knew that I was going to do whatever it took to pull through and complete the challenge, but it was a big challenge by itself. And as I mentioned just before, I didn't gain 100,000 followers, which I thought I could potentially do in that time. But it's interesting because I've actually learned why that wasn't the case, and I'd like to talk a bit more about that. So at the beginning of the challenge, I actually had a bit of a stockpile. I had about 20 reels ready to go before day one. And I thought, oh, this should be easy. You know, if I just, make a few stockpiles, should be able to get to 100 pretty easy, right? Well, as we went along, I think we got to about day 40 and the stockpile had completely run out. So I was kind of screwed from day 40 to day 100. I was actually making a reel every single day, and that included thinking of an idea, shooting it, editing it, and posting it all on the same day. And it was kind of, I look back on it now, and it really was a good experience. I could just wake up and not sure what to do, but then just generate those ideas quickly, or just adapt to whatever I was doing that day, whether it was a shoot or if I had the free day just to talk about anything else I wanted to, and set it up, film it, and edit it out and post it up. And so like I did actually, for that whole time, the 100 days, I did manage to gain 2,500 followers, which is quite substantial. And, before that, I'd only ever posted every so often on Instagram. So I only had, I think I only had 600 followers at that point, which isn't even kind of all my friends, because long story short, I had, 2 accounts going and I wasn't sure which one I was doing. That was a nightmare by itself. So I think even just deciding to post on one platform and just stick with that was kind of great. And it has given me a good base now. And I'm sure that as I continue along, that 2,500 followers that I did gain is actually going to serve me really well. It got to the point where there were certain videos that I was doing, I actually could tell which ones were going to do well. And to give you a specific example, there was a time-lapse video where I was comparing what it's like if you just take a continuous video over a long period of time, and if you compared that with the shooting style of actually taking interval photos, which allows you to shoot with a longer exposure and create some light trails. And it was all about the difference between the two and how you can make the video one still sort of look like the photo one, but obviously it won't be quite as good. And the reason I could tell that was going to go good because I had already done a few time-lapse videos and I had realized that I could do certain hashtags to actually put that time-lapse footage or that time-lapse video in front of people who are interested in time-lapsing, whether they're trying to learn or like they're just passionate about time-lapses. So I knew that I could put that in front of someone and then I could just use the hook at the start of the video to engage people, to tell them straight away that this is about time-lapsing and a different sort of technique that you can do, comparing two different techniques. And then I was able to, once I did that, combine those two techniques and gave them a reward at the end for watching, which is essentially just explaining, following through with the hook and explaining the differences between the two methods. And, that easily got over 10,000 views, that video. So I could tell there's different patterns I saw across those 100 days where I could tell which videos were going to do good. And then we asked me, well, Zach, if you knew what was going to do well, why didn't you just do that every time? And, well, that's a great question. I think some of it was just the time pressure I was under. I didn't have time to make, the perfect video every time. Some days it was very much a scramble just to get anything up. But I did my best to make it as high quality and engaging and authentic as possible. But also, some of the stuff doesn't really interest me too much, which I look at that two ways, because I could think, well, if I went down that path of maybe just doing more time-lapse stuff, I could definitely build a big audience doing that. But then if I did that, then I wouldn't be able to explore other different ways of creating and talking about different topics, and maybe I would have discovered something that would be even better. And so I really used the 100 days to actually experiment as opposed to get an outcome, which I'm glad that I did, because it did give me that sort of perspective of different ways to create. And I very much feel the pressure now, having jumped into the podcasting scene and I'm creating reels to do with that. So I think I've been posting a reel every day for the last week, although I did miss last night because, long story short, I've been feeling really sick this week. And we have been behind on editing right from the get-go too, because I've sort of just got into it so quick. And so I kind of made that conscious decision last night. I was like, I could sit up for another couple of hours and bang out a reel, but then I thought I'm better to just get ahead of the game and actually create a few more reels that are higher quality rather than just trying to throw out bits and pieces just for the sake of it. Because at the end of the day, just putting out stuff for the sake of it isn't going to improve anything. And that's why you need to be able to be putting your best foot forward as much as you can with the time limit provided. And then you get that feedback and you can work out what works for you and then adapt from there. And so that's why I'm not feeling the pressure to post every single day just yet, even though that's what I want to do with all the podcasting things. But it's, it is a challenge on top of putting out all the episodes themselves, because I am doing 3 a week. So it's a big challenge. That was a lot. I'm just going to take a breath. So I guess the biggest takeaway that I actually learned from doing this challenge, the 100 reels in 100 days, is I actually proved to myself that I could create at a high level consistently for an extended period of time. And I think that has really shone through now that I have been doing the podcasting, which I've been flat out for the last couple of weeks, recording episodes, editing clips, posting them. But now it's sort of, it is just routine for me. I've done it before. I've known what it's like to be editing for full days on end, being unsure of what you're actually creating, but then just generating the ideas on the fly and just being able to put out a decent quality piece with a limited amount of time. And I think that is a skill that I'll take with me forever. I know that I can just knuckle down for a period of time and really just get work done. And I think, it's like I said, it's proving very valuable now. And these podcast reel edits are a different style to what I've been doing previously. So it's a little bit tough because I'm not seeing, just yet. I mean, I haven't been doing it for too long, but I haven't seen the traction yet as I was getting with the other highly edited, very direct hook and follow through with the other content that I was creating about videography and other tutorials of that nature. So I'm just taking it as a learning process, learning how to cut down the best clips from different podcasts and making them engaging as possible within, the time limit of having to record all these episodes and get the full length episodes out making content on top of that. But I realized during the challenge that there's no shortcuts. Even now I'm spending full days editing it just takes time at the end of the day. I can outsource that if I want to. Right now I don't really I want to keep learning how to get the best out of each of these podcast episodes in terms of content. So I'm quite happy to do it. I'm learning a ton by doing it as well, and I'm getting direct feedback on my speaking. So it is really great to do that. So with that, there are just simply no shortcuts with creating content, essentially. And so I think with that, I will just end on this final note, is I think I also learnt that it was because I actually did this throughout the whole challenge, is I created for myself. And what I mean by that is if I had have just been trying to follow the latest trend or anything else that was happening on TikTok or Instagram at that time, it would have become very difficult for me. It would have taken a lot longer to set up different things and talk about or show those trends. But by speaking from experience and actually showing what I was doing, which is essentially documenting, not creating, I was able to create 100 different unique pieces of content over that period of time. And that's kind of been something that I've really realized over that time and I'm thinking about deeply now, is I could have started a podcast about anything, but I decided to have a back to college segment because that is something that I've been thinking about for quite some time, is to actually get my friends from college on and have a podcast around that. And I'm stoked that it's already happening. And I think no one else, there's very limited amount of people who can actually share those stories. And I mean, in particular, there's no one else that shares my relationship with the guests that I have on. And I think that's unique, and I just want to follow through doing that because it is ultimately unique and creating in my own different way. So I do believe that if you really stick to you and you essentially just do you, there is that unique human factor and element about you that makes it, you have to obviously make it interesting as possible, but there is that unique element that you are one of a kind. And if you just stick to that, I'm finding that it's so much more rewarding as a creator. I can do it for a lot longer. Whereas if I'm trying to copy other people, I know that I'm just going to burn out because I've done that in the past. So I'm quite happy just going along at my own pace, learning this podcasting stuff on the back of this big 100 Reels, 100 Days challenge that I've had. I'm excited for what's to come for the next couple of weeks as I learn more and progress through this craft. But I just appreciate you taking the time to hang out with me. These are kind of all the thoughts that I'm thinking of, and it's great that now I have a platform to go a little bit deeper and talk about a bit more mindset and sort of the meaning and the why I do things. So I hope you enjoyed that and potentially consider doing some sort of creative challenge for you. Maybe it is 100 Reels in 100 days. I certainly got a lot out of it, and I got out of it more than what I expected going in. Even though I didn't get the following, I feel like I have tools to now potentially do that, but more so the tools to keep on creating for a long, extended period of time and just creating the things that fulfill me. So until next time, thank you very much for tuning in.